Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. Um, wow, I had I'd wanted to set things up so the computer could be up here, and I forgot to do it. And now I'm live, so maybe I'll just hold it with my arm. Not really, not for the whole video, but thank you for dropping by. Just sending love and blessings your way. And someone wrote a while back, well, two things. Someone asked a question on Quora, which I found very interesting, and I wrote a response to it. You can click below. And then someone wrote a comment a while back that I wanted to respond to. The person said, "I'm not religious, nor am I atheist. I don't know what I believe other than universal love. I've listened to Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Jews, Buddhists, and atheists. I've extracted something useful from all of the aforementioned. I used to be a Christian fundamentalist, but the concept of eternal torture doesn't resonate with me anymore. I don't profess to know the truth, but out of all the Christian sects, universal seems to be the most loving. I like the teachings of the Buddha and Lao Tzu as well. I don't think anyone deserves eternal torture, but I'm still afraid of that ideology because it was deeply embedded in me at a young age." So just first of all, thank you to this person for writing. It touches on a big part of my journey, which is, I can resonate with this person. I've studied and practiced multiple different traditions, and I love the teachings of the Buddha and Lao Tzu. Not all the teachings of the Buddha, but many of them. And have a deep respect for Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism. And I do have some things I believe. So maybe I have a slightly more set theology, but what I really connect to is this fear. And for a long time, I've just felt so deeply that eternal hell is just not possible. And yet sometimes there's the fear of it still. And so what I've come to is the realization that it's a journey of overcoming that belief. It's one thing to say, no, that's not true, or no, I believe it's not true. But it's almost like our nervous system, or maybe our soul, a deep part of ourselves, still, I'll speak for myself, doesn't really believe in it anymore, but is afraid that it's true. In my deepest experiences of communion with God, which I've had many, some of them very profound, the idea of eternal hell, there's no resonance. There's no resonance between what I have directly experienced God to be and the idea of eternal hell. And these experiences were, interestingly enough, there weren't words in them. They were experiences of communion, sometimes just light communion, like feeling the presence of God. Sometimes intense communion, like, oh my God, I'm going to merge into this great reality and disappear. Like, some of these experiences were very profound. And the idea of eternal hell has no reference to what I have experienced. And yet sometimes I'm still afraid. There's little glimmers of it. And so it's quite a journey. It's quite a journey. And I respect that you're a seeker and you've explored different traditions, as have I. And the lingering fear of eternal hell. For me, a big part of how I've overcome it is to have a direct experience of God and what I believe to be a knowing of Christ. Uh, and through those, then I've been able to overcome some of the dogma through experience. Because let's face it, no one's experienced eternal hell. I mean, there are people who have had near-death experiences where they spend some period of time in hell, but it's not eternal. It always ends, right? So what I've come to is that most of what we take to be religion or truth is really rumors, right? Someone read something in a book and then they believed it and they told someone else who told someone else who told someone else. There's not a lot of direct experiencing going on. And that's not to say that we should completely throw out the book. And like, let's face it, that's the source. The source of the idea of eternal hell is either from the Bible or the Quran. Maybe there's no other current major world religion believes in it. There's one sect of Hinduism that does, but it's very much a minority sect. So let's just be honest. Like, this is out of a book. And for some people, they think that book is perfect. And I respect your right to believe that. That's not my belief, but and for those that do believe it's perfect, if you look closely at the book, you'll also see the message that everyone is saved. If we're talking about the Bible, anyway. So it's been really helpful for me to really get clear. This is not the idea of eternal hell. Not only is an idea in a book, but it's also an interpretation of the book. Because as I've said many times, if you read the Bible cover to cover, you'll come up with two conclusions. Everyone will be saved. Some people will experience eternal hell or eternal destruction. Both conclusions are there. So most of the passages that talk about eternal damnation or eternal destruction are mistranslations or can be explained as actually not eternal or but as temporary. But not completely, but most. And so ultimately, I believe we're left with a choice. We're left with a choice to believe a book, or we're left with a choice an interpretation of a book, a few passages, not just that, a few passages and an interpretation of those few passages, and of course, translation of those few, or we can believe in goodness and love. So on the surface, you would think it's an easy choice. Like, I'm going to believe in love. But the stakes are so high, right? Thanks to the interpretation of those few sentences in a book, the stakes are eternal heaven or eternal damnation. So it can be quite scary. Even I have such a deep conviction of universal reconciliation. And even for me, there's moments where I'm like, so the thing is theology, and I think theology is the wrong word because theology means knowledge of God, right? And it's not knowledge of God. It's really opinions about God. One sec, I'm looking up some Greek. One sec, this is what you get with live videos and so that's just, at a certain point, that's what it comes down to, is for me anyway, is that I've got to trust in love and goodness and fairness, or I can trust in those things, or I can trust in some interpretations of a few passages in a book. And most of us I was raised from a very early age with the idea of eternal hell and the idea of obedience to these ideas, to these opinions about God. And it's not like anyone ever said, these ideas are more important than God, but that's kind of what it's come down to today, is the ideas about God are more important than God, more important than trust. The reason why is because of the threat of eternal damnation, right? If you take that away, then you don't have to, then there's not this overlying threat, this overlying fear. But it's not so easy to just take that away. So if I'm going in circles, it's because, see, an opinion gives you something to land on. You can be like, bah, ah, like the Bible's literally true. Like, oh, that feels very solid. Or those who don't believe in Jesus will be burned forever. It feels so solid, right? Ideas do feel solid. They're really not. Ideas change all the time, as the history of the doctrine of hell shows, and there's an estimated 45,000 different Christian denominations right now. So ideas, they come and go, they change, but they feel solid when they're believed. Whereas what I'm talking about is trust and faith. Not so easy, not so solid. It's very easy to repeat an idea over and over and over again, but to just trust, not so easy. But trust is relaxing. Like when I trust in God, it's so much more relaxing than being like da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like thought, belief, opinion, opinion. Like, it's actually very stressful to try and keep convincing yourself of something that you don't actually know. But to trust in something, that opens the heart. And I believe that's the life that Christ called us to and modeled, was a life of trust. So I hope this is helpful. And I wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful day. And thank you so much to the person who wrote. It was a very beautiful message. Take care, dear ones. Big love.